Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is focused on all things Bannerlord related, and especially Advanced Battlefield Command and Tactics, as we continue on with our Aserai campaign here. Now, very brief campaign update, because I know most of you guys are following from episode to episode. Quayaz is under siege in the far southwest corner, and that is not the Southern Empire. They are dead. It's the Valandians. Now, we have a sturgeon problem up north. There are 3 separate castles that are under siege, and they're starving out garrisons and tearing up the frontier. So we're going to make a concerted defense attempt in this episode. We're going to fight these battles a little bit unusually, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we are going to eventually pivot to offense here after we crush this sturgeon invasion. These guys have the insolence to siege my favorite castle, Joguris. We're going to go up there and wreak some havoc on their asses. Now, our main army is an incredibly elite army. It's going to be hopefully around 1,000 troops. Right now, it's a little bit more troops than I want it to be, and it's an extremely powerful army, right? This army is about as strong an army as you can possibly make in Bannerlord, at least as far as on a numbers basis, right? For 1,000. If you have an army of 6,000, obviously it's stronger, but on a per pound basis, this is like the champion 1,100 person army, 1,200 person army. Now, in this episode, we're going to be watching and micromanaging our other companion armies, hopefully. Hopefully there are multiple. Hopefully we can sort of help them throughout the map. Now, I noticed this guy, I mean, wear a shirt for fuck's sakes, or at least shave. You look like a fucking disastrous homeless guy. This guy's going to join our kingdom here. This is kind of nice. I just noticed this as I was making the intro to this. We now have 3 mercenary clans working for us, and of course, the 3-player clans. Jaime the Prince, we just married him off in the last episode. Up he goes, leading an army. And we're essentially going to be trying to work with these guys to quell this insurgency. This is part of Bannerlord that's very difficult because the AI does dipshit things, right? You can always count on the AI doing dumb stuff. And obviously it's difficult to coordinate when you're working with idiots. That's just the bottom line. Still, we're going to micromanage them some. You'll see me actually break these armies up, right? Which they don't like, and it also wastes influence for all parties involved, literally. But that's better than these armies being destroyed. Defending Kimley Castle. So some of our other armies are not forming a big companion army, but they are defending. And these Western Empire fucks are streaming in. They're going to Hakoon Castle. So there's a lot of carnage going on right now. Something that's happening that's very interesting in this campaign, and I can't explain it other than maybe the Strengthen AI mod is causing some aberrations. The enemy's attacking with a lot of single armies. Instead of attacking with, the big armies where it says it's an army of 1,900, it sieges a city with 4 little armies, and they're not little. They're 274 units. These are big armies, but they're individual armies, individual lords, if you know what I mean. In fact, you can see the Aserai there are intercepting some of those forces actually heading to siege. So unfortunately, we're both going to the same location here. You can't control where these companion armies go. You just gotta kind of deal with that. We just had a quest come back, which is sort of suboptimal because those troops, we don't really want them to be part of this army, but that's okay. We can leave them as a garrison somewhere. Now, Arwa is fighting over here. This is the Wazuban's, the main character's mother. She's still rampaging around. She's not the greatest commander, so I'm a little disconcerted about her being out there. But I wanted to have another army out there, adding troops potentially to be recruited by these other clans, right? We have these 3 other clans, Piercing Talons, Golden Horde, and the Black Prince. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Look at this. There is like, what just happened here? Karain has been taken prisoner. Okay, so that's Quayaz falling right there. Look at this shit. There's a maelstrom of different sturgeon units all sieging Joguris here. It looks strange, like a bunch of blue fungus popping up all over the battlefield here. Now Vostrom's under siege. So it's starting to get chaotic here, right? Where there's just the castle under siege sign all over the place. But we're going to deal with it, right? That's going to be part of the challenge of this campaign. You got these Western Empire fucks raiding the village right in front of us. And then this massive sturgeon force sieging Joguris. They have begun the assault, too. So this is a large force. It's hard to tell how many it is, too, because it's all these individual armies. But we obviously, we're going to attack. Foster, the Western Army declared war on the Valandians. That's always good, right? Valandia gets a little bit more pressure because, of course, if Valandia is attacking us and just surging into our territory in the southwest without anybody attacking them, they're just going to make a huge amount of progress. Now, I'm going to wait for a little bit of daylight here before we engage because I'm going to fight this battle in an unusual manner. I want to keep these battles fresh on the channel. We're going to fight this battle on foot as an infantryman within an inner circle of hell defense. If you guys have never seen an inner circle of hell defense, you're gonna probably enjoy this. It's a little strategy that I'm tinkering with and continue to hone for combat. Now we're manifestly outnumbered here. In fact, the dipshit Prince Yorig, the Prince or whatever, is here. So this Sturgeon force is tough. But like I said, our army here is, I don't want to say it's undefeatable, but this is an incredibly powerful army. I need my pole sword here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to use my pole sword here. You know, normally I could use a pole sword here, but since I'm going to be fighting as an infantryman on foot, I will leave the three tranches of javelins here. And we will take advantage of all of those missiles being within our inner circle of hell. I want the decreased taken melee attack damage, of course, because we're going to be protected from ranged units both by a shield, which we will eventually pick up, but also by the inner circle of hell defense. Inner circle of hell is essentially just a nifty strategy where you use a ring of circle of cavalry to create effectively an iron arena within the battlefield itself, right? You use a large group of horses. Typically you want about 100, 80 to 100 horses, and you want them in a single to slightly double ring defense depth with infantry crossbow inside. And I'll explain that in a minute. You'll get a closer look, obviously, a very close look. Now, I wish we had more skirmishers. I don't think we actually have that many skirmishers in our army, at least in the initial stages. That's because it's going to give us shock troops. It's going to give us legionnaire and things like that. It's going to give us, I wish I had a lot more of the lake rats in this first wave. But it is what it is. We'll make the best of it. We'll still have some skirmishers. And of course, the Aserai themselves have a massive amount of javelins because of all of the Jav Cav. Now, this crossbow division, right, almost entirely crossbow, either elite Imperial crossbow, either Valandian sharpshooters or whatnot, they're going to be on the flank here, protected by cavalry. So we're going to have them actually opposite our ring defense, and their job, of course, is to spray crossbow bolts into whatever's attacking us, right? It's flanking fire. Obviously, we'll put a line of cavalry in front of them to give them a little protection, both from infantry, incoming ranged weapons, and of course, on some level, cavalry charging, right? The cavalry will get bottled up on the horses. Now, how do I want to do this here? I've got the 6th Corps too. There's a lot of archers in the 6th Corps. That's just how I've been making this army up. We can have the 6th be a mixed division. It's fine. I can still have those guys charge, and they will still have effectiveness. Now, you see the 1st Division, there's quite a few shields in there, right? So we will be using them on defense. We may even use them as a square. So it's circles and squares, you know, with a line of cavalry on the other side and crossbow, and the effects should be highly devastating. Even though this is going to be an incredibly strong force of sturgeons, I don't think they have much chance, right? I think you're about to witness point blank, because we're going to be on the ground, an incredible massacre. I've had extraordinary success with the inner circle of hell. What's nice about it is there's this intimate feeling about it, right? You're fighting on foot, you're fighting down in the trenches with the men, but you sort of feel safe. It kind of feels like, you know, you have this protection layer with all this cavalry around you. One of the things you notice is that you don't get speared for, you know, a quarter, your fifth, or a third of your damage by enemy cavalry, because of course they can't get any speed up. They run into horses, they run into infantrymen, and by the time they get up to you, they poke you for 7 damage. I am going to give the other side there, that infantry line there, the 3rd Division, behind the 2nd Cav. I like to marry the 2nd and 3rd. That way the 3rd can protect the Cav and vice versa, right? That Cav protects the infantry, and the infantry protects the cavalry. Here in the middle, again, we're going to have the 6th and 1st Division. The 6th is actually behind us here. It's kind of weird. The back of the circle is open. Usually it's closed all the way, but it's still going to suffice. You see all these cavalrymen here holding the line. I have horse archers to the left, and they're basically going to pepper the enemy as they come in. And the first wave looks very cavalry heavy. I see some archers, I see a little bit of infantry, and some horse archers, but it's a massive wave of cavalry. And watch what happens here, right? They're going to get totally shredded here, right? We're going to fire some javelins into their approaching ranks. They get slowed down by this inner layer of cavalry, and now they're almost standing still by the time they get to us, right? In fact, some of them immediately are just attacking guys here within the ring. And the screen just flushes green. Now there's an enemy lord. Love to kill enemy lords if we can early on here. Of course, they're tough with all the extra hit points. Die, mofo. Down he goes. And look at how slow the cavalry is going in here, too, right? It's an incredible flush of green here as they get sprayed with crossbow bolts. Notice the fourth over there is virtually untouched. Within the ring itself, I have a square. The infantry, the 1st Infantry Division, is basically holding on for dear life while the enemy infantry and cavalry pour through, and the 6th is unleashed here, right? On the other side, the 3rd Corps is charging, so any infantry near their cavalry or any cavalry near our cavalry is crushed. Now, the ring is still holding out pretty well. It's a little bit chaotic, of course, right? But you see our archers are kind of standing here in the middle. The enemy infantry is sort of invading it a little bit, but I like our chances here, right? We've got a lot of forces within here. There are shock troops, there are archers now charging, and their infantry is blown out of here, right? Their cavalry is crushed. The screen is unbelievably green under the circumstances, right? We're fighting elite troops. Effectively, the enemy here has the same quality of troops than us, and it doesn't matter at all, right? The tactical advantage we have here is huge. I mean, this has really just been a massacre. It's a 10-to-1 kill ratio so far. And we're holding within the ring, right? You see these infantrymen right at the edge of the ring? We'll fight here at the edge. This guy's magnetized to me. Get off me. It's really weird. He's absolutely magnetized to me. Back up. I feel like a boxer, you know, where they would like stiff arm a guy to be like, get off me. I don't know what he was doing. That was really interesting. But he died. That's what he did, right? And again, we're not going to leave this ring until the moment is right? As soon as these guys get too far, we pull them back, right? We're going to say, no, you guys stay within the ring. I see some of our troops got a little overzealous. We don't want them out there getting stabbed by cavalry, getting chased down by infantry, etc., right? We want our forces concentrated, and we're basically holding each other's hands, right? It's the old teamwork thing. All of these guys in here with me, they're in here protecting me, and I'm in here protecting them, right? We're all basically covering each other. Now, a moment of silence here for our destroyed enemies. The actual silence, of course, is that the enemy's regrouping. We just annihilated, 600 or 700 sturgeons in that was like 3 minutes. They have some archers sort of pricking us here at fucking 300 range. Those guys are doing virtually no damage to us. In fact, I might go throw some javelins at these fucks. We can actually send our 7th Division to attack these fuckers. There's no other forces around, so we might as well just harass their archers, right? I'll cut you down, these guys say as they die, you filth, right? As they charge these Battanian Fiend champs and whatnot. It's surprising how many Fiend champs this Sturgeon force has, but you can see them. You can plainly see they have Fiend champs. This is temporary, though. I already see their infantry and cavalry coming up. We'll be pulling back here in a second. Like I tried to take a shot at me and he fired wild, like an undisciplined orc. All right, so they got a few horse archers pulling up here. We'll make a little pullback attempt here for our cavalry. Some of these infantrymen are coming in like piecemeal. There's like 10 guys coming in. Of course, these guys are scorched. Okay, now a lot more infantry is coming over the ridge there. Good, right? Our inner circle of hell awaits you boys. You guys can burn in hell, right? These guys are going to get scorched. Our archers are told to fire. Now, I know I'm not inside the ring. Of course, if you're doing this for the first time in a campaign, I would say get yourself inside the ring. I'm so comfortable at combat now at Bannerlord that I'm not concerned. I also have virtually a full health bar. Now, it looks like we just got reinforcements, right? There's a ton of archers that just came in with the 2nd Corps. And so we'll use those guys, right? We'll put them uphill as well. The circle, though, we're not going to change our strategy, right? There's no reason to change it. I'm going to add a few troops here to the 1st Division so that we get sort of rebuilt lines here in the middle and await the wave. I'm trying to conserve ammunition at times. That's why I'm kind of yelling back and forth like a guy with Tourette's. Sometimes units get pulled off of fire, and the next thing you know, those archers get skewered because they're standing there like dumbasses. You really got to be aware if you're going to micromanage that stuff, who's not shooting. Now, back up some infantry here because I want the enemy to enter the ring, right? Please enter our ring of hell here. On the other side, I'm manipulating the 3rd Division. That way it's astride and flanking the enemy. The archers are told to open fire. And here they come, into the ring they come, right? And these guys got to be a little nervous because there's just corpses of the enemy. In fact, we just had a bunch of infantry reinforcements, literally like cheat codes, pop out of the ground, which is ominous for the enemy too, right? We just got troops, literally, it looks like they're coming out of the snow, camouflage from the ground. Now these guys are in between these two forces. We're going to attack. I know I said earlier you don't want to attack unless they're inside the ring. Here they're vulnerable, right? They're actually going to the other infantry lines over there. So we can kind of cut through our lines here to get to them. They're sort of going back and forth hesitantly. And we will fight a little bit in the valley here. The main advantage and the main purpose for Inner Circle of Hell defense is against cavalry. And of course, if you remember that first wave, their wave was mostly cavalry and it got destroyed. If you don't have that protection, your infantry are much more likely to suffer damage. We got another enemy lord here waving his axe in the air threateningly. He's menacing us. Their infantry in the middle here is getting sandwiched between two different forces and they're getting destroyed. Reset some of our archer lines here, and what do? Right, we put the guys right back in this Inner Circle of Hell defense. Now I switched it, right? We're now using a different division of cavalry for the Inner Circle of Hell. That's because with the battle size mod that we're using, not only does it allow a huge amount of forces on the battlefield, but it brings your reinforcements in the traditional spots. It must be part of the coding. If you guys are playing with the battle size mod and wondering what the fuck's going on, eventually if you have, say you have the 2nd Division is assigned to infantry in your game, you will get cavalry that joins it. That's because that's the default divisions that the game sets up, right? The default is infantry is 1st, cavalry is 2nd, 3rd is archers, and 4th is, I think I got that right. 4th is, oh no, I'm sorry, 2nd is archers, 3rd is cavalry, and 4th is horse archers. So, say you have infantry in your 4th division, you're going to have horse archers come in reinforcement lines and get mixed in with your infantry. Hopefully that makes sense. In a perfect world, you would just use the default with the battle size mod. In other words, 1st infantry, 2nd archers, 3rd cavalry, and 4th, now we got 2 shields. I want these javelins, because we're definitely not done with this battle. And then 4th horse archers. That way all your reinforcements came in the right slots. But just be aware that's going to happen. You'll see it happen a lot in my campaign, where all of a sudden there's a bunch of archers and cavalry mixed in the 2nd division. That's because the game wants to put your archers in the 2nd division. So more suicidal and absolutely no chance infantry coming up here forward in time. But I imagine the enemy is gathering a wave here for another assault. They're very hesitant. They come over the ridge, then they pull back. And of course, that's about the worst thing you can do as an infantryman, right? Is to pull back. You never want to pull back. Right, you don't want to pull back, at least under this kind of a barrage of archers, right? You're going to get killed. So on the ground, right, there's some significant disadvantages, right? There really aren't that many advantages to fighting on the ground. If you're a certain weapon spec, it's advantageous simply because you're fighting in your style. Okay, here comes the wave. That's a huge amount of troops. It actually looks like a lot of archers, which is interesting, right? We're going to continue to use this ridge. I didn't mention that. Of course, we're using a little bit of a reverse slope decline defense. You notice their archers aren't really shooting us. That's because they have no line of sight, right? We're using this ridge ahead of us here. As I fall back to our cav lines here, and look at what a beautiful job they did, right? Protecting me from the cavalry. They didn't even touch me. Over here, they're foolishly charging our shock troops, right? Very bad decision. Charge, right? And all these guys just unleash hell, right? The fucking executioner's axis starts bobbing up and down on the horses, and they just get obliterated, right? These poor horses. I mean, you feel bad for the riders, but the horses, it seems like they're innocent. Like humans, you know, we're kind of vile, warmongering fucks, but horses are just like, okay, you want me to pull a plow today and then charge into fucking heavy axes tomorrow? That sucks. But I digress. So I got to keep an eye on that infantry behind us here, but we're happy swallowing up this cavalry, right? Another very large wave of cavalry, and they charged the lion's den, right? It's exactly like a bad dream where someone charges the lion's den. I had a dream once where my wife charged into a bad situation. All you hear is screaming, and then there's no more sound, right? Because it fucking killed. In the bad dream, for those curious, and I'm sure you're not, I'm going to say it anyways, she was chasing her dog. Her dog chased after a bear. And of course, in a nightmare dream, you can never change anything, right? Or most of the time, that's the whole point, is you don't have any control. You're just along for the ride. And for whatever reason, she chased after her dog that was chasing a bear. And then, of course, she got mauled, and there's screaming, and all of a sudden there's silence, and you wake up soaked in sweat. That's fun, right? Our brain just likes to fuck with us like that. There's got to be some kind of purpose for it. Make us afraid of bears or some shit. Anyways, I digress here. So we're going to hold our lines here. The main reason is that, look at the archers. I don't know if you can see that, right? When I hold down the Alt button, there's like 500 archers there, 455 archers and like 400 infantry. So the enemy not only outnumbers us, but if we go over that ridge, we will be shot to death, right? It will be basically like the 1918 situation in World War I. As soon as you go over the ridge, the machine guns open up, you're crawling through the mud, and that's all they wrote, right? You're just killed. So a little bit of jockeying here while the enemy tries to get line of sight. In this situation, the enemy AI will desperately try to get line of sight. They may make a few feint attempts here, and it may actually not charge. Oh shit, they are charging. Okay, we welcome this, right? Please come into our fucking death chamber here. We've got archers raining down on the flanks here. The 6th Division in the center can be told to charge. The rest of us can bore in here, and this really is like 200 infantry that's just completely exterminated. Almost as soon as they charged in here, they retreated, right? So I got infantry on both sides just collapsing like execution divisions on these poor guys. And they're fighting well because they've got high-ranking commanders and perks and shit like that, but these guys really don't have a chance. Just hold their shield up and maybe they'll survive. All right, and again, we're going to retreat here. We're going to pull back. Some people may not like this jockeying, right? Other guys dig it. I've had a lot of requests for this kind of content. They want to see sort of the scrum of infantry dealing with a large force. One of the things that's very different when you don't have a lot of cavalry and you have a lot of infantry is you need to be patient, right? When you have a strong defensive position, you don't want to leave it, right? If the enemy is in a situation where they're in a very strong defensive position, you're hoping that you can get them to attack you, right? You don't really want to just give them the advantage unless you have no other choice. Now look at all those arrows. You see those arrows come flying over? That was because those 11 horse archers went over that ridge, and the enemy unloaded 80,000 arrows on them, right? We probably lost some guys there. We're not going over that ridge without a plan, and we're also not going over without a little bit of patience first, right? Now, we may have to go over the ridge. Why? Because if you remember, we're the attacker here. I usually mention that it's better to be on defense. In other words, it's better to be the side in Bannerlord that gets attacked, because then the enemy has to come to you. And of course, if they have to come to you, you can use that to your advantage. In this case, we attack them because they're sieging this castle. Now, they're jockeying back and forth down there, but I don't know if they're going to come over. They got so many archers, we may have to initiate the next phase, and that's actually fine. It's going to be bloody, because not only do they have lots and lots of archers, and we don't have a lot of cavalry, right? Normally, if you have a lot of cavalry, you could deal with this. You would put cavalry on both flanks, set those flanks of cavalry to charge their archers while the rest of your units move up. In this case, we don't have a lot of cavalry, right? We have maybe 80. It says we have 100 and something over there, but that's the 2nd Division. A lot of those are archers, so you could ignore that. They're actually getting aggressive. This is interesting. Those archers, okay, that's infantry towards the front. We welcome this, right? Again, if they're going to come to us, we will take advantage of that. Now, if they don't, I'm preparing a flank attack over here. I got to watch my positioning here. In fact, these horse archers are probably vulnerable. Yeah, as soon as I said that, you hear guys grunting. Ooh, ah, ooh. We're going to continue to use this ridge for defense so we don't get killed like that guy, right? We're going to pull these guys just a little bit back so the archers can't target us. And if they don't move forward, basically I will explain what we're going to do here, right? We're going to be charging with the center, moving 1 division of cavalry to the far side over there. And then with these 3 divisions over here, with an archer division charging forward with us, we will charge, right? We will try to get deep into their flank. The biggest key in a situation like this is getting close to the enemy. What I mean by that is the troops that I'm over here with, right? I'm going to command the other side at range, right? This is something, of course, that I've just gotten used to. And I'm going to actually bring one of these archer divisions over here with us because I need their swords and speed for this battle. Why do I need their speed? Because they're out of arrows, and I want these archers to be able to get into the enemy ranks quickly. The reason I want that, of course, is that the enemy has tons of archers. If archers have troops in their face, they won't shoot. So I got to get our troops in there. You see that 539 archers they have down there. With 500 infantry, right? They have a massive force. There's actually more units right there in front of us than you can normally see on the entire battlefield in Bannerlord. And that is courtesy of this beautiful battle size mod, right? That puts up to 2,000 units on the battlefield. Now, I was talking about proximity, right? We need to be a little bit closer than we are right now. Otherwise, we're going to suffer losses. See how they're sort of jockeying back and forth. I need to get a little bit closer, or else we're going to suffer losses. That said, the enemy's being very patient, and because I'm going to be, including this in an episode, I only can have so much patience here. We may have to just push forward a little bit more aggressively than I want to. I can push the enemy at the center. In other words, I can sort of menace and threaten them at the center. And the reason you want to do that is that way the enemy doesn't just straight kite, right? If they have the ability to simply run backwards with their archers with nothing attacking them, it's very, very difficult to close on them to melee. Instead, what we can do is sort of hold them down with the center, force them into combat. Okay, over here we're getting 1,000 javelins thrown at us. It's a Cav division making a little feudal attack here. Yelling curses at us. Okay, now is the moment. You see how close their units are? Their units are right on the ridge there. They're 80 units from us. Now we're going to make this motion here. So that left side gets told to advance and charge. Over here, we're going to start boring in, right? You see all those guys down there. We got to get our troops to the enemy left flank. Right? This side over here is where we want to start moving our troops. We're being patient here because we want those divisions in the center to hold the enemy down. Now that that's happening, very quickly we're going to pour out here, right? We're going to pour out along the enemy left flank. We're going to get the archers behind shield walls, right? We've got a bunch of sergeant crossbowmen that will lead with their shields. And I'm actually going to drag our second division here. You can see the cavalry coming through them. I'm going to drag it right in front of the enemy. And the reason I'm doing that, of course, is I want their archers distracted, right? We're basically putting a smoke screen right in front of the enemy as our forces close. This will prevent a lot of their archers from shooting. It'll also aggro a lot of them. They're going to be like swinging their swords at these horses instead of paying attention to the real threat, which is all our forces on this flank. Now we're starting to reach here. The crossbowmen are told to charge. And here's the next big key. I got to keep our shock troops ahead of these archers. In other words, we're going to skate to where the puck is going. So you see how I'm just pushing my units in the direction they're running? I'm physically telling our shock troops, no, run this way, because I don't want these archers to not have a dance partner. Every single one of these archers needs to have one of our shock troops as a dance partner. That way they get cut down. Just like the mauling I'm giving the enemy here. The center is charging, right? All those divisions of ours in the center, those guys are boring in. In fact, a lot of the death spam is their infantry attacking our infantry. That's inevitable. Our task here on the flank is their archers, and we are shredding them, right? Shock troops with me, following me, and their archers are trying to get space to shoot, and we're just not going to let them, right? We're making sure all these guys have a dance partner. Some of our cavalry's in here marching through as well. They're almost to shooting range, but we're going to just stay on them, right? This Fiend Champ, you're mine. You're a dead man. Keep on retreating there, dude. Wah, he says. And it's bloody because we're charging 1,000 troops, but we are also fucking them up, right? There's an awful lot of green considering that we're outnumbered here. All right, so now we can set up archers for the approach, right? We're going to have reinforcing archers coming from the other direction. Obviously, these guys we can set up to help add to the maelstrom here, right? These guys can shoot. And then those arrows raining in here will not only have an immediate impact, but obviously anybody running can't outrun an arrow, right? They're going to get shot in the back. And almost as soon as I said that, you see guys getting shot in the back. These guys chasing me, they get beheaded. And they could be reforming. Okay, they got another line built up there. We're going to keep the pressure up, right? Their archers are flat out running. Actually, we got to destroy this infantry first, and then we can hold this ridge. We've got another ridge to play defense with. Let's destroy their infantry here, and then we can deal with the next wave. But that was extremely successful. I didn't pay super close attention because I was trying to cut guys down with my axe, but I would say we got a 4 or 5 to 1 kill ratio there, despite the fact that they had more troops than us and a defensive position. Again, we'll do a little defensive posturing here right at the edge of this ridge. These battlefield terrain advantages, I just identify almost the same way that you identify a nice pair of boobs. It's just an automatic thing for me in Bannerlord now. I've played so much, I can just look at a landscape and say, okay, we got a nice defensive ridge here for this next wave, right? For the next phase of battle. Now they're pulling back a long ways. I may bring archers up here and see if our reinforcements can't really pound them at range. 300. They've got more archers than we do. But I think at this stage, actually, we will go offensive, right? This enemy force has been battered. I assure you their morale is not high. Our morale, of course, is sky high. Our troops are skewering everything. I got a nice big extra large pizza tray above my head here, protecting my noggin. And we push forward. It's actually a lot of fun. I love playing in the first-person perspective like this, running right next to a palace guard, right? You just feel like you're with your men here. We're going to counter their cav charge with our own cavalry. Come and get it, boys. Oh, shit. Get speared in the face while I'm talking shit. Where'd the rest of their forces go? I think they ran. I'm looking up and with my peripheral. I think they fucking fled. And I would flee too, right? We are just a butchering machine. This army we have, of course, not only is savage units, but now we're using tactics that the AI doesn't know how to handle. The AI is just not, in fact, that stutter right there, I don't know if you felt that stutter or sort of noticed. That stutter is when the AI tries to figure out how to get 700 men off the battlefield as fast as they can. That is because the enemy is fleeing, and this juggernaut army that we have here just completely swallowed up these sturgeons. I mean, that was a force twice our size, more than twice our size, and a 5 to 1 kill ratio here as we unleash hell on these poor sturgeons. Zuban, 65 kills. He's not been a killing machine. You know, he's not Zuvan. The character I had in my previous campaign might get 200 kills, but of course I'm also not on horse. You kill less guys when you're on foot, unless there's a lot of heavy battle. That was very much a skirmishing type of battle, where you sort of fight intermittent big clashes, and then a lot of it's at range. I like to, keep a variety of battles going for this campaign. Of course, at this stage, anybody who's watched anywhere close to the whole campaign has probably seen 150 big battles, right? Or 100 battles, and they're not getting any smaller. All right, so we'll collect a bunch of loot here. Nothing amazing, right? A legendary Huskal, Harburg, or whatever. That's probably worthless. And we will move on here. So Sturgeon Force destroyed here at Jogurus. Now it's time to start looking for targets of opportunity. This is the Prince. Well, keep on organizing an army right there. Oh shit, Arwa's getting attacked by looters. That's not good. She's probably going to get captured. Usually when the AI attacks like that, a bunch of looters attacks you, it's because they think they have a good chance to win. And that is still a function of that mod I put in the game that was called dangerous bandit parties, right? There's looter parties of 800, 1,000 roaming around the map, and I think Arwa is going to get captured by a bunch of homeless guys. All right, so Hakun Castle's under siege. I don't think we can make it there, right? Kimli Castle's also under siege. Yusek Castle's also under siege, right? It's an onslaught here. Of course, we've got only one other army, and Vostrom is under siege. Actually, this guy's forming an army. Good. Okay, so we do have 2 companion armies and ourselves, although I don't see the army up here. Oh, it's because they're right there. Duh. Let's see what we're going to do here. We'll divvy up some troops here. Yeah, we see these guys picked up a bunch of looters. We don't want a bunch of looters. I'm not sure where they got looters from. Maybe they got them from that battle, right? Bunch of prisoners they released. We're going to go ahead and collect all these troops, put them onto Wazuban. and then dump them into the wilderness. We're not using looters here. All right, a little after narration for this portion here because there wasn't anything really that was worth showing you guys each step of the way. I can talk a little bit about something that you guys are dealing with and something that just happened to us here, and there's not much you can do about it. We had a couple of our armies here, and they were really doing almost random shit. In fact, it was like they couldn't determine what to attack and where to attack. They were going back and forth like they were having a seizure, and we had a bunch of different locations under siege, but they were all a long ways away, right? And my army's encumbered, it's snowing, there's forest, we were moving badly, really slowly. And so I decided, you know, sometimes a good offense is better than a good defense. Instead of just chasing down these 2 or 3 armies that are sieging cities, let's go ahead and just assault one of their cities that they took. We'll get this base up here, at least be able to attack a target that's not moving. And obviously that will be of some benefit, right? Instead of chasing after all these armies and all these castles that were probably going to fall anyways, we just decided, look, we'll just attack Makeb here. Now, I've talked about it, of course, these companion armies. There is a danger, and it's something that most people learn the hard way. I learned the hard way for sure, is that if you build companion armies and you don't help them at all, in other words, you don't micromanage them at all, they get destroyed. Now, I will talk more in the future about micromanaging them, giving them troops, giving them fiefs and money and stuff like that to help them win battles, right? I've talked about this before, but I will definitely cover it a little bit more because it's a big part of this part of a campaign, right? We are now officially late game in this campaign. We're dealing with 2 or 3 major kingdoms here. And of course, in the background here, I'm just showing you the siege of Makeb here. These are going to be just parts that I've edited. That's why I'm sort of rambling. Hopefully it's not incoherently. We're doing a little coherent rambling. But you're going to have these player clans, or these, what do they call them, kingdom clans, right? These clans that you made with companions, right? They're mercenaries that have now become lords, and you want them to have success, right? It's vital they have success. You do have more control than most people think, right? You can just leave them be, let them run around out there, and they will win battles and lose battles, and it's basically chaos. But the most important thing in Bannerlord is to win. And that is because you gain all the XP, you get all the loot, you get all the renown, you get all the influence, etc. You get all the spoils. So if you can help your companion armies consistently win, obviously you want to do so, right? So I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've already mentioned it, though. One of the things you want to do at this stage of a campaign is make sure they don't have huge armies, right? I would not let them form an army at this stage over 800, maybe 1,000 troops at most. And the reason is because if their armies get large, really large, they will very readily say, okay, I got 1,200 troops, 1,800 troops. We can go assault a location somewhere. We can go attack, right? They're like, let's be a good helping member of your kingdom and go attack. The problem is the game mechanics work the same way it works for the AI. It's not how it works for you. In other words, if you go up to a city and there's 500 defenders and you start to siege it, that city's yours, right? The enemy cannot do anything about it. They can't all of a sudden join the battle with 3,000 troops. But if the AI is attacking somewhere, it takes days for them to sort of dwindle down the numbers within the city and successfully take it. And during that time, enemy armies are responding, right? They all head right to it. I smoked a few of our units here before I decided just to let our guys butcher the rest of the guys here at this city. Kind of a funny thing to mention. Hopefully, I was hoping at the time I didn't kill this guy, this companion. I drilled right in the head with a javelin. Of course, you know that he didn't die if I'm laughing about it now. Anyways, I'll wrap this up, though. The point is that you don't want them going offensive on siege because they will get captured very readily, right? Their army not only will become vulnerable because they almost never break off a siege, but they will be sitting there dwindling their troops down while the enemy rallies defenses and eventually attacks and destroys your army. It's vital to avoid that as much as possible at this stage of a campaign. We'll see what this guy does. It's frustrating, right? You have these companion armies and they really do random shit. I mean, we'll keep an eye on them. We'll be obviously able to track them. For some reason or other, you have state-of-the-art information about where these guys are going, right? Even if they're a long ways away. I'm not sure why they developed it like that, but it is what it is. We're going to go down here and defend Aserai Castle. And we'll see what this guy does. I would love if he just patrolled around that area, right? I would love it if he just defended targets. But of course, your AI is rarely gonna do what you want it to. I guess the gist of it, what I've been rambling about for 12 minutes now, during that siege of Makeb, is that you want to watch these guys, right? You want to babysit them. You need to micromanage them, otherwise they will get captured. Jogurus Castle is under siege. That's actually good. So this is a perfect example. Instead of our troops being on the offense where they're going to get captured, this guy is now traveling to Jogurus to defend. And what's going to happen there, I think, I mean, we hope, is that eventually the forces that are sieging Jogurus will be vulnerable, so to speak, right? They start with 1,200 or however many forces they have there, even 2,000, and they get dwindled down at some point or other. He will see them as vulnerable, and I mean by he, Jaime the Prince there, the guy that's heading to defend that other army, will see them as vulnerable and be able to destroy them, right? That'll be highly beneficial for us. And speaking of beneficial for us, I wish I had a city that had 10 million gold at it, because I got to dump this equipment off. You see how much shit we have, how much loot we have? We literally have 10 million, I'm not exaggerating, 10 million in loot right now. It's just been building up, and of course every city I go to, I can't even begin to offload all our goods here, right? We buy the maximum food. I might even just start storing tier 6 pieces of armor as like Bitcoin, the equivalent of Bitcoin, because we just have so much loot. It's actually really slowing down our army. All right, so we'll keep an eye on this guy heading to Jogurus Castle, and we're going to defend Akazur Castle. We're still in the defense stage of this, right? We're making the recovery here against the Sturgeons. There was Western Empire also fighting here, but you can see now they just declared war on the Aserai. I just looked down. I think they're at war with Valandia too. So the Western Empire has got a little bit of a pugnacious streak here, right? They're just declaring war on everybody, which is not. This is almost never a good decision, right? Ask Hitler how that worked out for him. Just declare war for no reason on his ally, the Soviets. Very strange, right? Sometimes people do dumbass shit. Again, there's a whole bunch of mushroom units attacking here. A whole bunch of Western Empire forces in a big knot of red tents outside of Akazur Castle here, and we're going to teach them a lesson here. Now, I want to make sure we have our polearm, right? We took it off for that siege. We will now add it because this battle I'm going to fight on foot or on horseback, right? We're going to meet this Western Empire force on horse. I'm going to try to fight different battles for this episode, although, you know, we're pushing 30-40 minutes on this episode. It kind of depends on how much we edit out. This army is incredibly powerful. This is another case where it's like shocking how strong they are. Every fucking army is all tier 5 or 6. They have tons of heavy cavalry and elite cataphracts. So yet again, oh shit, and they're dumping us right in. Another battle where it's just anything but routine. Now, they haven't done this to us in a while. I'm not sure. I guess it's because we're ambushing outside a city here. They're bushwhacking us here with the pre-setup. I've got to do this little dividing process that I've sort of gotten down. The 1st and 6th is infantry, the 4th and 5th are archers, the 2nd and 3rd are cavalry, and the 8th and 7th are mobile cav divisions. I will use them aggressively. The 2nd and 3rd cav in my standard division is strictly defense to start a fight, and that's because it does such a great job of slowing down enemy cavalry charges, protecting our archers, and allowing our shock troops nice stood up and slow cavalrymen to destroy. 530 cavalry the enemy has in this battle here, right? So 3/4 of their army is cavalry, and you can be sure it's all tier 6. And we've got 2 different archer divisions. I'm basically making 2 separate wings here. I always like to do this because if the enemy's dumb enough to attack only one of them, it simply gives you the option to pancake the enemy. And it does happen sometimes, right? It depends on what their army makeup is. They've got like 29 infantry and 50 archers and 16 horse archers and 500 and something fucking heavy cavalry. They will probably have more infantry coming up, but their initial wave here obviously is all tier 6. All of these guys are tier 6. Every horse archer here is a cons guard. And again, thank you Strengthen AI mod for making this campaign difficult. Thank goodness we have this, right? Because we're still shredding it for the most part, even on, so to speak, the maximum difficulty. Wazuban's skills have really rocketed. Obviously, we've got a lot of elite equipment. Even without smithing, we've been able to develop a really nasty weapon load. This pole sword is clearly slower than anything you would smith, but I've been able to make it work, right? It's quite deadly once you get the timing down. All right, let's fuck around a little bit here. I've got this 6th division. It looks like it's entirely palace guards. Now, it's a good thing the enemy has elite troops, right? Because, of course, so do we. We have all elite troops. 95% of our army, or at least 90% of our army, is tier 5 and above. This whole wave is all elite cataphract. This is awesome. Now, they're still destroyed, right? We're going to absolutely shred these guys. But I shouldn't say we're going to shred them, right? This is an incredible amount of enemy horse. Now, watch them get slowed down, though. We've got 2 lines here, cavalry. I actually put the 8th behind the 2nd. And, of course, they run through here, and then they get an axe to the face. Now the 1st and 6th can charge, right? All these infantrymen can just unleash hell. And this is obviously something that you guys have seen before 100 different times. We'll see if this battle differentiates itself too much more from some of the other very difficult battles. There's actually an awful lot of death spam, right? They're doing some major damage to us. And obviously part of that is because they have so many heavy horse. They just have so many units. All right, we'll chop a few heads off and see if that evens things out here. There's a lot of death spam, actually. So I've learned in this episode, this campaign, to not take anything for granted, right? When the enemy has a doom stack like this, you really do have to be prepared for a fucking death match. The enemy has an incredibly powerful force here. It's all tier 5 and 6. And even with good tactics and a strong army, this still may be a challenge. It doesn't feel like it right now. Of course, I'm just fucking slicing everything apart. God, this polearm is sick. It's so long, and of course, it still one-shots almost everything. Oops. I hit my own cons guard. Look at that, though. 110 damage I did to our own guy, and he still lived. Why? Because we have those medicine skills. If I haven't convinced you to level up your medicine skills yet, I don't know. I haven't done a good enough job explaining it, because it's unbelievably powerful. It's part of the reason the death spam looks like this, right? This is Bannerlord difficulty against highly souped-up enemies, and we're still just fucking flushing their forces. You can swing it behind you at guys that are behind you, chasing you. This is just a really nice weapon. The more I play with it, the more I like it. I've always fixated on a polearm in the 140 range. I would say there's uses for a long polearm, right? It depends on your playstyle, of course. You've got to have some good dexterity with it. You've got to have some good timing and control. But once you do, right, I'm just chopping guys down everywhere. Incidentally, I'll mention that since this so far looks like a fairly routine battle. It's a bloody battle, but for our campaign now, this is starting to appear normal. Just a savage, fucking difficult slugfest against a strong foe. I used to love a polearm that had a length of about 150, right? Whether it's a custom polearm or you're out there looking at glaives and Volges and trying to figure out which one you want to use for a swingable polearm, 150 was the number I used to like. And that's because there's a critical part of that. When you're chasing a guy, you can actually hit him without being next to him. In other words, if you're directly behind him like that, you can still hit the guy. Otherwise, your horse's face is jammed up the ass of the horse in front of you, and you still can't reach him. Say your polearm is like 130 or 120 length, like those really short glaives or whatever the ones. There's a couple that are like 110, 120. You can't reach the enemy. You're literally swinging and whiffing behind him because your weapon is too short. This thing here, I can hit fucking cavalry in the next city over, right? It's incredibly long. And the death spam has turned decidedly green. In fact, we just got reinforcements during a charge on the poor enemy. And it's just getting obliterated. And this polearm, you don't even have to be that close, right? I'm just clocking guys from significantly behind him. Guys chasing me that can't hit me, they catch a fucking glaive in the face. And it's hard to miss on a side shot, right? When guys are next to you, you can get blocked, of course. But unless they try to block it, they're hit, right? These guys are just going to get hit because this polearm has such a long reach, and it has a pretty good sweet spot, right? You can hit them where it's quite a ways down the handle. In other words, the horse can be right next to you, and you'll still kill him, right? You'll do less damage, of course, but you'll still do 80 to 150 damage. Oh shit! Look at their infantry line. The whole line is fucking legionaries. Let's join our men on foot here. I relish a little hand-to-hand combat, and we'll see if we can't help our men here. God, this is a ferocious force. Legionnaire, Legionnaire, Legionnaire. The whole fucking force. This army here is, I think, the strongest I've encountered so far. The whole army is tier 5 and 6. Oh shit, I'm in trouble. Let's see. Try to cut our way through here. I got archers on one side, legionnaires chasing me on the other, and cavalry spearing me just for fucking fun. Can try to help my men here, but I'm a little bit trapped. I kind of trapped myself telling my fucking polearm stories. Fuck around and find out. I guess I found out. Alright, we got our archers here. Shit, I'm getting shot. Fucking this one legionnaire's chasing me. Fuck you. I don't have a shield, too. I need a shield. Shit, that's one of their guys. I'm getting fucking attacked. I thought that was one of ours. Well, the death spam is green, but I'm getting smoked. I'm almost down. Oh well, sometimes you fucking play the dipshit. In this episode, I look like a donkey. Okay, don't run. Look at, of course, our troops instantly are running. Charge, you bitches. We've got the enemy on the ropes here, and it's close. We can't afford to fucking pull back. God, the AI sometimes. It takes over your troops, and it really is like they do a fucking Harry Carry. Just fucking self-suicide. You fucking assholes. I mean, I don't know if you guys picked it up there, but it really did look like our forces were trying to rout as soon as I took over that character. Now, I got to stay alive here. I'm getting scorched. They've got nasty archers, all tier 5, of course, and every character I take over is insta-killed. Obviously, one of the worst things that can happen for your army is to have it basically alternate between your command and the command of the AI, because they're two totally different animals, right? The AI will do all kinds of weird fucking kiting, infantry towards the rear and archers towards the front and shit like that. Meanwhile, obviously, you guys know I have a plan. And what the fuck? God, I'm getting scorched. Everybody's shot in the fucking face in this part. This might be one of those battles where I just don't show you this part. I'm just like, well, we'll just edit this shit out. But sometimes also it's fine, right? You can, maybe I will just purposefully show this part as part of the episode, right? It doesn't take much on this kind of difficulty settings without cheat codes or whatever to get fucking destroyed, right? This enemy force we're fighting is ruthless, and it also sort of reminds me of how difficult this game is, right? A lot of the battles, of course, you guys see us just trucking everything in sight. Bannerlord is an incredibly difficult game. I really do I remember when I first started playing, I would get fucking trucked by looters. I remember riding around on a horse, and I must have recruited some guys because I had a handful of guys running around with me. We're chasing after guys, and their looters were hacking up our troops. And never mind commanding my units, right? I was just trying to put a spear in the face of a looter, and my turning radius was poor. I was literally running circles, and the next thing I knew, I had petrified shits being thrown, banking, hitting my cheek and shit like that, and we were fucking dropped. You have been taken prisoners by looters. You guys would laugh how many times I got taken prisoners by looters when I first started playing this game. And of course, we start to make it look pretty easy now. This game is fucking hard, and this episode here is a perfect example. I got a little bit overconfident, joined my men on the ground, and it illustrates how difficult that is, especially where I was, too. I put myself between their archers and their infantry, which is way up on the list of stupidest things on earth to do. These motherfuckers, it says they're retreating, and these fucking assholes are stabbing our troops. I think we'll have to do some more fucking torture sessions at the end of this episode. These fucking, you cowardly fucking non-rule obeying motherfuckers. Motherfuckers put up the white flag, and then they attack our men. We might be boiling some guys alive or some other medieval horrific shit. A bloody battle, right? 770 casualties. I mean, compared to that Sturgeon army, which we completely lambasted, this Western Empire force was tough. And again, it's a reminder to me to not get overconfident in this campaign, right? You can run into an enemy that's all tier 5 and 6. And if you think you're just going to waltz right through it, think again. All right, we're not going to take any of these prisoners because, of course, we are at a castle and we're already badly encumbered. So it's on to the next target, right? We're going to continue to try to recover Sturgeon land here. Some mediocre loot, and on we go. I think we'll take a castle here. There's nothing locally that's on siege, that's under siege. Jaime the Prince and his army, just like I was hoping, right? Those guys are victorious. I was just talking about it 15 minutes ago. We leave those guys on defense, so to speak. We leave them with an army that's just large enough for defense and not so large that they can siege, and they are victorious, right? All those guys get skill points, they get renown, they get all the other shit. And I wish we had some armies down here to deal with Valandia. It's on the other fucking side of the map. Of course, we were there like 3 episodes ago, and now it's just being fucking lit on fire by Valandia. It's one of those situations. It's a two-front war, right? Ask Hitler how that works. Doesn't work so well, right? I don't have much choice here. I've got this sturgeon problem to the north. I've got to ignore the Valandian situation for a little while and deal with this. Now, I'm not going to stay here very long. I just can't afford to stay here until the entire Aserai territory is taken over by Valandia, because who's the bigger threat, right? Clearly, Valandia in this campaign is the biggest threat. So we're going to have to come to grips with the Valandian force here eventually. Otherwise, we're simply going to get fucked over in this campaign, right? We're going to get trucked. Now, we do have 2 sort of accidental alliances in this campaign. I say accidental, and that is because I never intended on the Battanians helping us. But for some reason, we've really never been at war with Battania, or if we were at war, it was extremely brief. And the Aserai, of course, we are basically in an alliance with, right? In fact, there you go. Caladog of the Battania has declared war on the Valandians. So that's beautiful, right? Now, these guys are really pounded into a corner. The Battanians are quite weak, but it's nice, right? This is somebody that's helping us against this Valandian juggernaut. Now, some people might say, well, fight everybody, see if you can win. I already tried that, fellas. I did a campaign where we tried that, and ultimately, you can guess the results. I'm going to siege down Hakun Castle here and move on. It looks like more shit's under siege, right? Chikand is under siege. There's just all kinds of shit under siege. These sturgeons will not go away. Everybody still wants to marry Arwa, our mom. Our mom's not getting married. Gross. Get out of here. Fire catapult. For some reason, these guys are ignoring this fire catapult. Shoot at the fire catapult, you fucking assholes. What are you guys doing? I want them to destroy this fire catapult, and then we can launch our attack here. Of course, if you don't destroy the fire catapult, those fire catapults will destroy your siege tower. Look at this shit. They're sieging down the walls. You fucking assholes. It's just one of the many frustrating parts in the game. These 2 siege weapons we have will not target this fire catapult. It's like it's running from Camels party. That's not good. It's like this fire catapult's invisible. Shoot that fucking fire catapult. They're shooting the walls. Man, sometimes you just want to punch them in the face. We're just going to fucking go with it. Fuck it. It means we're going to get flamed. We may even lose our siege tower. Maybe I can destroy it with the catapult itself, right? Maybe we can jump on a fire catapult. But how frustrating is that, right? That these stupid siege weapons that you have absolutely no control over, right? You can build them, but you can't tell them what to shoot at, which is stupid. Of course, they're just firing away at the wall when all I want them to do is destroy this fire catapult. Now this fire catapult is firing incendiary rounds on our troops because we had a fucking absolute dipshit on our siege weapons. Well, that backs up my belief that about 1/5 of the world, maybe 1/6 of the world, is an absolute dipshit. Just a total idiot, staggering through life. And evidently we've got some dipshits here on siege patrol. Get the fuck off. I'm going to assume it's these fucking guys here, this stupid Lake Rat Wrecker. Get the fuck out of my way. Wazuban starting to get belligerent. We're going to try to blow up this enemy catapult. This is not something I normally do, but I think I can do this, right? It's going to take a second to dial in the range and the distance, the location, but that's already pretty close, right? Bang, right next to it. In fact, we hit it, right? Whatever it says, blunt damage to object, that means we hit that catapult. One more shot or maybe 2 more shots here, and that catapult's destroyed. I think we just missed, and unfortunately now we have to wait because our stupid-ass siege tower's in the way. Hurry up, boys. Push that thing by. Let's fire this off. Okay. Couldn't tell if it hit it. I think you get a little notification that says, you did X amount of damage to object. That one looks like it's dead on. Bam. you know what? Bam, and look at the guys run away. I don't know if you saw that. I mean, we're hitting the walls too, but the guys ran away from it. It looks like they're archers or whatever. I think it's destroyed. I think we destroyed that catapult. So our idiot trebuchet motherfuckers before the battle, before the siege, couldn't do that, but at least we're able to come in here and save it. Oh shit. Oh, sorry, fellas. I just drilled, speaking of idiots, I just drilled our siege tower with a fireball. Drilled our own siege tower. Alright, let's try to... Oh, motherfucker. Well, like I said, there's 20% of the world is an idiot. I am one of those, fellas. I am one of the 20% of dipshits. Sometimes you do dipshit stuff. Actually, it's not going to matter. Look at that shit. Oh my god. That's what 800 guys or 1,200 guys firing javelins. Oh my god. Nothing survives that, right? That is an absolute death fucking black hole for the enemy there. I mean, it's just a pile of carcasses. And of course, now there's no defenders on the walls, right? Charge. That was awesome. They were holding their shields up too. It didn't matter. Let's rush this front gate. Try to blow through the defenses here. Wazuban's too fat to get by. Is that it? I thought there were going to be a lot of defenders in here. Jesus. Well, again, the power of skirmishers and archers, crossbow, that was pretty emphatic right there. I mean, that was unbelievable. That wall destruction was epic. I may have to slow-mo a few of those for some cutscenes, because that was awesome. That was like 1,500 guys with ranged weapons smoking everything in sight. So pretty good garrison left there. That should do fine for now. Of course, we're starting to get stretched a little thin here, right? Our army keeps on leaving garrisons as it takes these sturgeon castles back. Actually, I should say as it takes our castles back here. Now this guy, this other army, looks like he's lurking here at Chikand, that means he's likely to join us in combat when we arrive. Although sometimes these NPC armies will be like, I ain't attacking that force, and even though you go barreling in, they go the opposite direction. Like, you're crazy to attack that. Obviously, sometimes they're using sort of the normal AI where it says, yeah, you can't win battles outnumbered 3-1. So Sanala looks like it's going to fall. This is, it's a real bummer. We're really playing like a game of teeter-totter here with the Valandians and Sturgeons, right? We go to one side. Okay, so there's 2 full armies there, 2,100. We should still be able to manage this. It's likely he'll attack here, and we will have a pretty large battle here, right? Obviously, another battle that we can't afford to lose. At a minimum, your companion army will be captured here, even if we have to retreat. That said, of course, we still have the majority of the core of this very potent army. And I think this battle might be time for us to do a little RTS overhead. I've been meaning to do more RTS overhead battles. I'm not sure the landscape here. If it's a pretty open landscape, I think it'll be a good opportunity for it. But again, we're going back and forth between Valandia and Sturgia. We've got to make some ground here. Otherwise, we're just going to lose the war of attrition. So he's decided to join 1,600. We've got 2,000 against our 1,600. The power bar is about even. But I don't think that's going to matter at all, right? We have a death machine army here. Even though statistically we have an even chance to win, we have the better army makeup, right? The better mix of troops, particularly in how we're planning on using them. It's a really interesting looking battlefield. There's all these reflections of the sunset or sunrise or whatever it is, and you can hear sort of a trickling sound of rain in the background. So maybe there's a little bit slowed movement and stuff like that. With the realistic weather mod, it does alter the battle somewhat, just like the vanilla game does, only the realistic battle mod alters it even more. And so you can get effects like cavalry is less quick, and archers are much less accurate and stuff like that. Generally speaking, infantry become a little stronger in bad weather. It's like a football game, NFL, American football game, where if it's a snowy game, whatever team has like the biggest brutish offensive line and a good running back, they tend to win. That's kind of how I see weather effects in Bannerlord, right? Because it comes down to who can club each other over the head with a mace more often. Now we're going to use a bifurcated assault here. Of course, trying to lure the enemy towards the center. That's always a good strategy in Bannerlord. And in this case, we're going to use the overhead, the RTS overhead. So I'm using it in the pre-battle stage here, and then we will switch to it so that you guys can see pretty much everything that's going on, right? The AI will control my character. Sometimes he runs around and gets killed. This might be the rare case too. If the AI kills Wazuban, I will save scum so that he's not killed. Hopefully we don't even have to consider that though. Now we're going to run a bifurcated army right here. What I mean by that is two different armies. I'm going to anchor on the rocks over here on this right with the 1st Infantry, the 6th Skirmishers, the 7th Horse Archers just to plug, and then the 8th just to plug, and then the 5th Corps of Archers towards the back, right? The most offensive. And of course it's telling them to charge. We've got some UI difficulties already. Over here on the left, we're going to run our traditional inner circle of hell defense, right? Which is the 2nd Cavalry in this big circle as you see it moving forward. And then we will have this crossbow division basically protected by it, right? This circle provides outstanding protection to the guys. Everything from javelins to arrows are protected somewhat, right? And then we'll also have a shock troop division over there to countercharge any cavalry. This is not nearly as interesting for me or as fun for me, but I do understand that a lot of players benefit considerably from having the RTS overhead perspective. Admittedly, some players think that this is much easier for the commander because you can see the whole battlefield and make changes with precise information. I actually disagree, right? I've played so many battles in Bannerlord that I'm more comfortable on the ground level. I can micromanage units better, and importantly, I can detect angles of line of sight. Everything from the best angle for infantry to come crashing down on the enemy, to the distance that skirmishers throw their javelins, to whether or not archers can see over the right ridge and are going to have protection from rocks and stuff like that. In my own testing, I've actually done better fighting battles with tactics on foot than using the RTS mod. That said, this is not a battle we should lose, so we will go ahead and proceed with it as I try to explain what we're doing here. The 1st Corps is in a solid square there, basically to absorb some of that cav attack. Over here behind them is the 6th Corps, a mix of skirmishers and archers. Now that their cav line has reached our cav, they're slowed down, and we used a skein this time. It's a little bit different. I'm playing around with it a little bit. The shock troops start barreling up. Of course, some of them are throwing their little axes. I can't tell that division to hold fire, though, because there's archers in there, so we'll just leave it as is. Now, over here, the enemy's actually kind of ignoring that, right? We have two different formations, and apart from these horse archers, which are over that ridge and somewhat out of sight, they're not messing with it too much. I've got our 7th Division of Horse Archers over there just sort of jousting with the enemy. Now, their infantry is the main risk, right? In addition to their heavy cav, which we're disposing of now, in comes something like 250, 300 infantry in the middle. Now, they're heading for the circle, which is good. That's what we want, because we want those shock troops to be able to fucking barrel down on them. Although it is only 50 guys, right? It's 50 shock troops, and they have something like 200 infantry. So what can you do? You can do a little bit of kiting. You can also do a little bit of flanking over here, right? As they move in, all of these archers are strafing the enemy with arrows. This is the advantage of multiple corps, multiple divisions. And as you can see, their infantry is being lit on fire and having a hard time dealing with the projectiles coming from the flank while they're trying to bore in on the other side. It's the same concept as like a first-person perspective shooter, right? While you're advancing, your friend is shooting the enemy, trying to stop you from advancing. Now, over on the right, I sent my cavalry just to mess with their archers. I want to mention that point. Sometimes I do stuff faster than I can tell you guys, and I'm not always able to narrate every single step of the way, but that's an important step, right? We're basically dispersing their archers by sending our cavalry in their face. Over here, the vice is closing, right? We are very slowly bringing in different divisions down on them. The infantry division, the 6th division, the 1st division are essentially being told to charge, and the enemy's trapped between them. They're being strafed with crossbow bolts and arrows, and now we can really close the vice and have these 2 infantry divisions collapse on them. The 3rd and 6th can be told to charge, and it's going to be very quickly good night to these sturgeons. Now, vitally, and this is an important point, look at our archers are just raking. That's because nothing's in their way, right? They don't have a bunch of our infantry or heavy horsemen blocking their line of sight. So in addition to all of our troops coming in here, our archers are working, right? They're being shot while our shock troops just cut through the middle of their formation. And predictably, the death spam is hugely green, right? Even though this battle theoretically is an even battle, if you F1, F3 this battle, you might lose, right? It's probably going to be close no matter what. With tactics here, it's going to be a complete destruction. Now we could continue to be defensive here, but I'm going to move up aggressively, both for brevity's sake, to shorten the amount of time that this battle takes, but also because the enemies, I don't know if you can see, the enemy's coming in kind of like a big disjointed wave. We want to take advantage of that before they can reestablish their lines and get their units in cohesive defensive units. We're going to attack, right? We've got cavalry here sort of maligning them. As they come up, we're going to move our units up and attack aggressively. Archers are moving to new positions. The 3rd Corps is getting positioned there behind the cavalry. We can switch this cav line. You know, I'm fiddling around with the skein a little bit. It's not my favorite. I still prefer the old shield wall. Shield wall cavalry does an amazing job absorbing arrows, stopping enemy cav, and of course protecting everything from these archers to the shock troops behind them. So no genius here, no extreme science, right? Beyond the fact that we're using shield and shock on both sides, right? This is a fundamentally powerful strategy, right? You got a line of horses or a line of infantry that has shields protecting your shock troops. This is a very basic strategy that I think a lot of people miss, or at least they're not willing to micromanage. It's highly effective if you do it. The enemy again is continuing to come in piecemeal, so we're going to attack aggressively, right? And send these shock troops in. The crossbow are charging because crossbow, if you make a crossbow division like I do, and it's typically our 4th division, they will run out of ammo faster than anybody else, right? Even your Imperial Sergeant crossbow and your high-ranking crossbow, I think they max out at around 20, maybe it's 18 bolts or something like that. And with perks, maybe it's 23 or something like that if you have all the good perks for them. The bottom line, though, is your archer might have 50, 60, 70 arrows where your crossbow's out at 20. Right, so they're gonna be out early on, and fortunately, and this is part of the reason they're so powerful, they're very capable offensive troops. All right, so what we're doing here, this is a highly valuable strategy late in the battle where you're crushing the enemy. We hit the F1 button followed by the F3 button, and of course, you know, that's sarcasm. That's the joke is that's how people fight Bannerlord. It is effective if you clobber the enemy in the first 2 rounds there. And you could basically think of it as a boxing match. They are reforming some lines here, but I think we will just wade in. Think of it this way, fellas. If you want to think of the right time to use F1, F3, in a boxing match, you have most of the time, most boxers have a very defined plan of approach of how to destroy the boxer they're facing, right? They study the film, they study the evidence of what their opponent is likely to do. You analyze your enemy, you find out their strengths and weaknesses, and then you develop a plan that you execute in the 1st, 2nd, maybe 3rd and 4th rounds to really destroy your opponent. However, if your opponent enters a stage where he is staggered and like, you know, one eye is fucking bloody and he can't see shit and he's on the ropes, what do you do in a boxing match? It's the same thing as Bannerlord. F1, F3, your strategy goes out the window and you turn into a fucking barbarian chimpanzee swinging your fists at your opponent as fast as you can, because at that stage you want to finish him off, right? So F1, F3 does indeed have a very real use in Bannerlord, and that is the coup de grace, right? When your enemy is rocked, you use F1, F3, as long as you win the early tactical stages of a battle. And this is a critical point, and it's not a hugely outnumbered situation, then F1, F3 is probably appropriate after the first couple waves of reinforcements. And that's precisely what happened there. Now, if you're fighting 4,000 troops, and I'll just slip this important point in because it is important. I'm looking down and realizing that we are exceeding sort of my normal time for this episode. It is very appropriate to use F1, F3 in a battle like we just had, but say you're outnumbered 3-1 and you need to win repeated all the way through tactical victories in a battle, then it's different, right? If you use F1, F3 in those situations, you will discover you lose battles where maybe you could win. So if you're in a situation where either you're in a hurry or it's clear that the battle is going to be over with a good F1, F3 charge, utilize it. If it's a battle where you're going to have to slug it out tactically to the very end, think of that incredible battle we had against the Khazaits in episode 26. I think it's called The Rise of the Sun or the Epic Sunrise or something like that. Then you want to be tactical the whole time. All right, well, Aserai is the biggest problem, right? Valandia continues to be the biggest problem, right? They are at war with the Aserai, but they are sieging us now. And that is going to be our next objective, right? Probably the next episode. However, before we head down there, I'm going to deal the Sturgeons a nice savage blow up here, right? We're going to smash through a handful of cities. We've really crushed their armies. So combined with these other forces, these other NPC armies, we're going to try to deal them a haymaker here so that we can deal with the Valandians and have a nice buffer on the Sturgeons. So with all that said, of course, if you want to see more from this series, you want to subscribe, fellas, I appreciate you, fellas. Please leave comments and criticism and love notes and everything else you guys, fellas, want in the comments. I appreciate all of the support and the comments and the likes and all that good stuff. All right, fellas, with all that said, I will see you guys next time.